Cells, rows, and columns can be formatted to change the text or the background color based on whether the data in that cell meets a certain condition. So we're going to look at some examples of how to do that, why you'd want to do that, and then some more practical applications for the classroom. So you're going to find conditional formatting options in the Format tab, right? The first example we're going to look at is how you can use conditional formatting to highlight data. So in this tab, these are quiz responses on a quiz on Google Apps. So for this question, the correct answer was true. So what I want to do is I want to format this automatically so that any correct answer is highlighted in green. Now I could certainly go through and click on each true and highlight it, but that's going to take some time. And one of the best things is when I apply conditional formatting to a column or to a row, it's automatically going to apply as additional data comes in. So let's say for column C, I want to make sure that any time that true appears, that this is going to be highlighted in green. So I'm going to highlight the row or highlight the column and use conditional formatting. And I'm making sure that this is my range. So this is showing the range of C1 through C1000. So it's going through the end of my spreadsheet, and you can see that that range is highlighted here. And then I set my formatting rules. So right now it says if the cell is not empty, it's going to be this green color. What I want it to say is if the text is exactly, and let's do true, I want it to be this nice bright green. Now let's see if this is case sensitive. Okay, it's not case sensitive, so whether it's capitalized or not, it won't matter. So if text is exactly true, this will be highlighted in green. So then I'm done. Right, and you can see that my conditional formatting rules appear here. If this is something that I don't want, I can click delete here. I can also add another rule. So let's say that I want to come to now, like I want to change for the next question for column D. Okay, and notice I changed the range. So this highlighted, and the correct answer for that is false. So I'll go to the text is exactly false. All right, and then I'll press done. So what you'll see here and why this is useful is this is going to highlight who got these correct. And I'm also going to be able to see pretty quickly that this might not need to be a question that I go over because only one person got it incorrect, but this might be a question I'd want to address because almost half of the students did not get this correct. Right, and again, the benefit of conditional formatting, it's automatic. So let's say that another student submitted the form and a response came in, it would automatically apply the formatting to that column. So as we go, I see a nice little data analysis for how my students are doing. All right, so let's look at my next example, and that would be formatting numbers. So here I have some quarterly grades and absences for my students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the range of data, and maybe I'm not going to include the name. Let me just include the averages. I'm going to go to my conditional formatting, and my goal that I have here is I want to color code based on grades. So I have a couple of examples. So this is the first tab, but let's look at color scale. So I could say the minimum. So any low grade I want to be red, and any high grade I want to be this bright color. And this is applying a color scale to my grades. So the data that's really on the low end pops out here, and then the high end pops out with the green. But I don't want to do that. I want to apply 3 different colors to this data. So you can see the options here. There's text, there's date-based, and then there's number-based. So I'm going to do if this is grade is greater or equal to 85. I want this to be green. I'm going to add another rule for this data. So let's do if this is, let's say, if this is less than 65, I want this to be red, right? And so now you can see with my data, the students who are 85 and above are green, and then it's also highlighted for me the students that have below 65. Right. Again, to remove any of the rules, you can press the delete button, or you can click on the rule to edit it and adjust. The rules are always evaluated and applied in the order listed. So the first rule found will define the format of the range. If you want to reorder the rules, and in this case, this doesn't probably make sense, it won't matter because I don't have conflicting data, I can drag one rule to make it first. What's also nice is if you copy and paste from a cell or a range that has a formatting rule, these rules are going to be applied when you paste the data. So I only applied my data to this range, but if I took Elle Woods and I pasted her name down below, the formatting is going to also apply to that. Now this is a little bit advanced. I was hesitant to include it, but I definitely see a use for it. And this is using the custom formula. Right? You can look this up on YouTube or on the web to find out more information, but I wanted to show you how this works. Right? What a custom formula does is it allows you to format an entire row based on the value of one or more of the cells in this row. So let's say that for absences, let's say I wanted to format absences and I wanted to say if the absences are greater than 5, I want those to be highlighted. I want those to stand out. But if I have a lot of data, it might be better displayed if the entire row was highlighted in red or in a color that I chose. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to select the whole range here, which is, so I can see it, A2 through H16. So A2 through H16. And instead I'm going to use a custom formula is. Right now everything is red. I'm going to get rid of this criteria. And I'm going to write the rule here. And we haven't gotten into formulas yet, so this might make a little bit more sense later. So my goal here is that I want to make the whole row red if the number of absences for a student is greater than 5. So all formulas start with equal, right? And my first cell that contains absences is C2. And I want to say when it's greater than 5, right? But there's a little issue here. What I want to do is I want to use a $ before C. And what that does, that's an absolute reference, and it means that the sheet, as the formula drags down, it's not going to change the C. The C is going to be the same, and then when it goes down in the next row and looks, it's going to look in C3. The C won't change. It won't go from like C2 to D3. It'll go C2, C3, C4. And this, I know this might be confusing right now, so you're probably going to want to come back and reference this at a little bit later time. But you can see that with this formula here, anytime the number of absences in column C is greater than 5, the entire row is going to be highlighted. I'm going to press done. Right. Now, most of what I've showed you is all from a data standpoint. And as teachers, most of your time isn't going to be looking at student data. And conditional formatting can be great because it can highlight areas of need and give you some focus. But in terms of using it in the classroom, you could actually use conditional formatting to create activities for your students that are almost self-grading or allow students to check their work. So I just gave a few examples down below. So you could create some sort of like almost like a worksheet where you have students type their answers in an area that you provide. And what I've programmed it to do is to turn green if the student gets it correct. So if I want the students to spell dog, and let's say the student spells, animal, that's not correct. But if they spell dog, this turns green. Okay, so how did I do this? If I go to Format and Conditional Formatting, I set up a rule so that if the text in this cell is dog, then it's going to turn green. Right, if student types in 2 plus 2 is 5, then that's not going to be green. But if they type in 4, it'll be green. Same thing, capital of New York. They type in Saratoga. Uh-oh. Say they type in Albany. Okay, notice that it's not case sensitive. Okay, so they can type in Albany or Albany, and they can get it correct. So these are, hopefully you're seeing some various ways you can use conditional formatting. It can definitely automate some of the analysis within your spreadsheet, but you can also use it to create assignments for students.